If you find the content of this video of interest and important, then I ask that you subscribe. And if you've subscribed already, then I ask that you like the video so that will help with the algorithm, supposedly. Now let's get straight to it. If you have been following my videos, then you know that I have requested that you store food. Canned goods with a long life expectancy, dry goods with a long life expectancy. Whether we enter World War III or not, the United States dollar is going to take a plunge in value because of BRICS, B-R-I-C-S. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And there will be, I believe, 6 more countries will become a part of BRICS. And they will control 81% of the world's oil. They will come up with their own currency, which means the United States dollar will no longer be the international monetary exchange for goods and services. This is how the United States was able to put sanctions on countries, because they were controlling their money. They were controlling their money, and they can lock the dollar down whenever they want to. And if you and a lot of African countries had money, it was in the international banks. And when the United States put a sanction on, they cannot withdraw their money, or they can only take out a certain amount, because the United States could say, well, you're going to use the money for terrorist activities, this, that, and the other. So they had no control no monetary control over their country's finances, which means they have no control over their country. This will change at the beginning of 2024 when BRICS come out with a new currency. And by the middle of 2024 is when we will see the results. You see, change can happen like that, but the impact of change happens over time. But the biggest problem is this: will there be World War III? And if there is World War III, it will be led by, surprise, South Africa against Israel. It would be South Africa against Israel. South Africa will be backed up by Russia, who is in Syria now on the border of Israel. Israel, as you know, will be backed up by the United States. However, the end game is already known, because Russia has defeated NATO in the Ukraine already. The United States is losing the battle in Israel. They are losing now. The aircraft carriers that you see on TV are of no value in a war nowadays, because you have drones and you have warheads and nuclear missiles, and an aircraft carrier is just a big target. A 1,000 warheads will not cost the amount of a aircraft carrier with all the with all the planes on it. So therefore, it is economically efficient to attack it with drones and warheads. Also, on an aircraft carrier, you have 1,000 soldiers in a small space. You have 1,000 soldiers in a small space. So when you hit that aircraft carrier, you do more human damage. Whereas if you are fighting soldiers in a field, you spread out so that when any bomb or something drops, you have less casualties because you don't have them all packed in. Also, the most important thing to note is, so therefore we can throw the sea out of the equation. Forget about what's going on there. The only thing that the sea can do is bring in supplies to back up and reinforce what military is in Gaza. But China has submarines already in that area, if my information is correct. And China has better technology than the USA. Russia has better technology, weaponry than the USA. Because as I've explained on one video, normally what they call Star Wars or missile defense is when a country shoots a missile at you and then you send a missile to intercept it. And but if there is more missiles than they have interceptors, then missiles will land. And if you are talking about, and let's not play games, they are surrounded by Muslim countries. They have oil money and they have purchased all kinds of missiles. But the kicker is that, and I've told people this before, the Russian missiles are faster and more advanced and they change direction. You don't know where they're going. They're not just, they can be controlled and they change directions at a high rate of speed. Let's go back to the aircraft carriers. Their missile defense system will be of no value. With the old ballistic missiles, one direction, the aircraft carrier's defense would be of no value. All they have to do is throw so many to where their missile defense system can't protect it. It's a waste of that money, those billions and billions of dollars for the aircraft carrier is a waste of money. And then if you put that aircraft carrier out there, you have to have all these support ships around there just to support it. Support it from what? Aircraft attacks? Airplane attacks? Drones. Unmanned drones. Nuclear warheads. Forget what's going on in the ocean. Then you have China with submarines, and they have missiles on the submarines. China, if China gets into it, it will be as a last resort. But once the fighting starts, China is a part of BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. China is not going to leave BRICS. BRICS is the new Warsaw Pact. They are connected monetarily for the purpose of overthrowing the dollar and to stop the United States from being able to control them with sanctions. Now, Africa, all these African nations that are bending down to the West and their presidents are puppets. What they are doing is waiting on BRICS to come out with a new currency. And then all they have to do is join BRICS and they are free of the United States. They are free of the dollar. The dollar will no longer control their currency. And then you're going to see sanctions put on the United States. Buy food and store it up. Ground troops. The United States has 450,000 ground troops and 280 bases around the world. The United States is, and with approximately 1,000 people, 1,000 military people on those bases. Are these people trained fighters? I doubt it. They're basically probably just crowd control or as an intimidation factor. In one instance, on an aircraft carrier, you got all your people packed too close. In another area, you got 280 bases and you got your people all spread out. That is not how you run a military machine. Now, when it comes to men, the fighting is going to come down to men on the ground. Let me explain something. All these so-called tanks are of no value in Gaza because they are taking out these tanks with handheld rocket launchers that have missiles with 2 warheads on them. Missiles with 2 warheads. The first warhead is to take out the tank's defense. The second one is to do damage. Israel has lost a bunch of tanks already. A bunch. And men. But you're not going to, but propaganda, you're not going to hear the truth. You're not going to hear the truth. And the truth is this. In the exchange of soldiers, the Israeli prisoners were treated great. They talked about how they ate the same food that Hamas ate. On the other hand, the prisoners of the Palestinian prisoners, they were beat and tortured. And when when Israeli prisoners tried to tell the truth, they were silenced. They were silenced, which is what you would expect from a country that bombs hospitals, refugee camps, and schools. You will expect this when they just went from countries that bomb indiscriminately. Israel was also putting out of Israel the true black Hebrew Israelites. Israel is racist. So to be surprised that the United States, a country that has been systemically racist for the last 300 or so years, expecting them not to support Israel is ridiculous because the United States has killed more people than Israel. The United States has basically wiped out Native Americans, and the United States dropped the atomic bombs on Japan. Israel probably had, and not to mention the slaves that died on the Atlantic crossing. Israel has a way to go to catch up with the United States when it comes to the execution and the deletion of human beings, whether they be black, Asian, or Native American. This country leads the world in exterminating people. Probably you can add what the Nazis did to it, and let's not even talk about the Africans that were deleted by King Leopold and other European countries. I mean, the reality of the situation is that you can't trust colonizers and enslavers. Russia was not a colonizer or enslaver, neither was China. The only countries really known for this was Europe. But getting back to the point, when it comes to manpower on the ground, the United States doesn't stand a chance, and Israel don't stand a chance. And it will be interesting to see if Canada, how much Canada and England gets into this, because they have put sanctions on Israel. They have put sanctions on Israel. And if there is a World War III, George Bush and Obama will be brought up on war crimes because South Africa President Ramaphosa in the United Nations, he's calling for the criminal investigation of those countries that have violated the United Nations peace agreement. You see, God is in all of this. And that's why I don't look at things from a race as race wars and things like that. I look at things from chaos and order. Order being the natural order of events. Nature. How we got here is through nature. That is order. Anything that goes against nature is chaos. Homosexuality and racism are learned behavior. No child is born a homosexual and hasn't even entered puberty. Children will play with each other until they get a certain age and they are taught racism. But I think I've covered a lot of ground, but the main thing I want to say is to store some food, get your food stored up. And the second thing I want to say is that if there is, because there's bad times, is going to come either way. It's going to come either through the depreciation of the dollar as a monetary currency used to purchase services and goods, or it's going to be much worse if there is a war. And Iran, and we're talking about a nuclear war with missiles that can hit the United States. See, it's easy, very easy for Biden to say, do this, do that, do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, when we are thousands and thousands of miles away from the actual fighting. It's easy to be a bully when you know you can't get hit. But guess what? This is not 1970, 1980, 1990, not even 2000. This is 2023. Baidu is a Chinese created GPS system that is superior to our GPS system, and it will be Baidu that will be guiding the missiles to the United States if it comes to actual warfare. And the only thing, while Russia and China are playing chess, in the United States, somebody dropped their pack of cocaine. Plus racism causes cognitive dissonance. It causes illusions leading to delusions and a false sense of grandeur. Ego run crazy. You see, some people, they are stuck. Biden is stuck in time. Biden is stuck back in the 1970s, 1980s. He's stuck there and he can't get out of there. And he's so glorious and he's glorified by the fact that he's now president to where he thinks he's something else. Anybody could have beat Donald Trump as president. I mean, this guy is a loser. But let me end here. I could go on, but I'm going to end here. Like and subscribe. And if the information is usable to you, and tell your friends also. With that, have a great evening.